The expectations are sky high for the 2022 New York Mets.
Yeah, I mean, everything they did during the offseason, before the lockout, and then this leads you to believe that they're not looking at it as a 3 or 4 year plan. They're thinking about this year.
Chris Bassitt, again, has got #1 type stuff.
Marte, Escobar and company, and now you throw Scherzer in the mix.
Swing and a miss on 95 away.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Humm Baby Baseball Channel. Today, it's time to talk New York Mets. The Mets obviously had a huge offseason, so we're going to get into all of that. Check out the lineup and the rotation and the bullpen and everything like that. So we got the Mets expert here. Ladies and gentlemen, I want y'all to check out his channel. This is amazing, the spectacular, the terrific, the great one right here. The People's Champion. It is the Baseball Hut. What is going on?
How you doing there, everybody? How's it going? How you doing, Humm Baby Baseball? What's going on?
And I'm doing pretty good, and I'm just happy baseball's back and that lockout is over, man.
Yeah, I'm happy too. It was very frustrating to watch these guys argue about money, and that's over my head. I didn't go crazy getting into all the minutia of that, but I'm glad that's over with, and we get to talk about all this fun stuff.
Absolutely, and obviously this is, by the way, this is a Baseball Hut channel. I'm going to put a link in the description, put a link in the comments. The Mets had a crazy offseason, and here's just some of the additions here. Obviously, Scherzer, you traded for Chris Bassitt. You got Marte, you got Canna, Escobar, Adam Ottavino in the bullpen, and a lot of minor league contracts as well. So what are your thoughts overall on the offseason?
It was really a great offseason. I mean, it started out very slowly. I mean, here in New York, they're very impatient. So when it got started, everybody was like, well, what are the Mets going to do? But then they brought in the outfielders. They brought in Kanya. They brought in Marte. And then people were like, and Escobar in one day. And people were excited. But then they brought in Scherzer. And people were going crazy here. And people just itching to get the season started. People were just excited, to finally watch it. I mean, we have a great pitcher here already with Jacob deGrom. But then they have Scherzer here with him. And even this older version of him, he's still a great pitcher. You can still learn a lot, and he still has it in the belly. We saw that last year, at the end of the Dodger season, when he shut down the Giants. Sorry to tell you,
that's all right. That's all right.
As you know, to see him, you saw that fire. So he still has that within him, at least to impart that guttiness and that grittiness. People here were so disappointed here in the Mets last year, because they were missing some kind of element. Right. And bringing in Scherzer and bringing in Chris Bassitt. We're learning about Bassitt just over the last couple of days, and he's all he cares about is winning. And it just sort of changed the whole culture. I mean, you talk about culture change. The culture is completely, totally flipped pages here, to where we were talking about, in the past we were talking about guys like bringing in Chase and Shreve to be like the big signing here. But that's not the case anymore. Now we're all looking forward to getting this season rolling, and it's great to see. I mean, just the idea that Scherzer is there, the future Hall of Famer. He's got the 3 Cy Young Awards. He's got the World Series, and to be able to come here to do that, it's just very exciting.
Yeah, that is going to be great. I mean, it adds to a rotation, so already got some pretty decent names in it.
Right.
And so I was going to bring up that obviously there's more than 5 possibilities. So I don't know who obviously the first 4, I guess, would be deGrom, Scherzer, Bassitt, Carrasco. But then I don't know if it's McGill, Walker, Peterson.
Walker would be the next guy, but Walker's a little bit behind because he had knee surgery in January.
Right.
So he's a little bit behind, and it's still something of a question mark with Carrasco, because he had some issues with a really bad hamstring injury last year, and when he came in to pitch for the Mets last year, he did not pitch well. So the top of the Mets rotation is excellent if they can stay healthy with deGrom and Scherzer and Bassitt. But the last 2 spots a little shaky. And Tyler McGill, he did not pitch much in the minor leagues, so he'll be on an innings limit to a certain degree this year. And they'll just have to sort of cobble the last spot or 2 going forward. But in terms of if they need somebody, to be honest with you, there's not a lot there in the minor leagues. I mean, they lost Joey Lucchesi to a Tommy John surgery last year. So he was a guy that was contributing last year till he got hurt. So the back end of the rotation is a little short, just based off of injuries. Now, Walker, will be here in May, and I think he'll have like a really good full season with the Mets. But the first couple of weeks is going to be a little rough, especially in the back end. But that top of the rotation is spot on. I mean, you're getting like really great pitching at the top.
Yeah. I mean, if that's your top three, DeGrom, Scherzer, Bassitt. I mean, I don't know if it matters too much as long as you have a couple of decent arms.
Right.
I mean, that's still an amazing rotation. I mean, that's all three of those could be, Cy Young candidates right there. That's absolutely
and also,
amazing.
like I said, them being short, they could use a lefty. They don't have a lefty in the rotation. They don't really, other than David Peterson,
Wow.
but he has not pitched well. They don't have a lefty in the whole entire 40-man, so there's no lefty in the bullpen. So that
Really?
Yes, so that is a concern.
Wow.
So when the Mets made this trade with Oakland, I was thinking that they've got Manaea because he's left-handed, but they got Bassitt. Now Bassett's better than Manaea, but the Mets really are desperate for a lefty. So that'll be something that they're going to have to keep an eye on going into the season, especially when we get to the trading deadline. If the Mets are lucky to be in that spot to get somebody.
Wow, that's amazing. I did not know that till you pointed that out. So, but still, I mean, with that rotation, you got some good. I guess we talk about the bullpen a little bit. Obviously, with no lefties, that's crazy. I didn't realize that. But obviously, is Diaz your closer? I know he's kind of been up and down.
He's up and down. Right now, he's the closer. I would expect him to be the closer the whole season. He's really my main concern with the Mets bullpen. In terms of lefties, they've gotten a lot of production from these lefties the last 3 years. They brought in Justin Wilson, obviously Aaron Luke.
Right.
But really, Edwin Diaz is the key to the Mets bullpen. He's a little shaky when the game is really hot. When they need a win, he can be very shaky with the walks, with the strike, with the home runs. He didn't give up that many home runs last year, but when he gives them up, he gives up big home runs, and they kill you. The rest of the Met bullpen was very strong last year. I really like Trevor May. Adam Ottavino came in. He's going to be basically replacing Jeurys Familia from last year. Familia was okay last year. He's not what he was, but he's gone to the Phillies. But Ottavino will basically take his place, and Mets have Seth Lugo. The thing about Seth Lugo is he's the kind of pitcher that you can't pitch him back to back, but the quality innings should be there. I'm not too concerned about the Met bullpen, other than the lack of a lefty. But Lugo's good. Miguel Cash was very underrated. He needs to sort of throw more strikes. Once he does that, he's really good. I really like his arm a lot, and he's got a lot of guts on the mound. He's not afraid. So that's a big deal for me, which is a big problem with Diaz. He can be sort of a deer in headlights, and he tends. And I don't know if you noticed that he tends to point to the air when the ball's going up and out of the ball.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen those
really
YouTube compilations of him pointing.
But overall, I mean, the bullpen is not really my concern. I mean, the 6th, 7th, and 8th innings are going to be very strong. Like I said, I really like Trevor May a lot. He's got really good stuff. And he's not afraid, and that fear factor is a big deal to get those last 3 outs. And Diaz is really my concern. And
with this rotation, your bullpen's not going to be too taxed as long as this rotation stays healthy.
No, and they got a couple of long guys. Trevor Williams is a long guy for the Mets. They could bring him in the middle innings if they need him.
And then your lineup, I got right here. This is a sample lineup. I don't know if you agree with it or not, but obviously Nimmo, you picked up Marte. You got Lindor still, Alonso. I don't know what the deal with Cano is right now, but I mean, what's this lineup looking like?
I think it's a little light, to be honest with you. But the problem with the Met lineup over the last few years has been the production with men in scoring position. They've had guys that seem to have, on paper, they seem to be good. And you say, well, he's a good hitter. But then when he gets into a big spot with men in scoring position, it's like you can't bring him over. I was watching the Met game last night, and they talked to Mark Kanya, and he said that he's a very serious guy about how he goes about his business. And that's sort of the mentality here in spring training. There's a real seriousness about this team, a real intensity to this team that seemed to have been lacking, especially last year with that clubhouse. So a lot of the problems with the Met offense has really been the mentality to sort of grind it out at bats, especially late in the game. That's been a problem for them. I would prefer Marte to be leading off on this team because of the fact that he's can steal a lot of bases.
Right.
I'd rather have him there and then bat Nimmo second. I get 2 guys that get on base a lot. Nimmo takes a lot of pitches. He can hit behind the runner a little bit. And then I can have Lindor bat third and Alonso batting cleanup. And the rest of the guys in the lineup, I could probably see Escobar batting fifth in this lineup. But we'll have to see because, I was watching him a little bit. He's got a lot left in his bat. Cano is going to be a key hitter in this lineup because if he has nothing left, then they're kind of like short, not just in one spot at second, but also as a DH. And I'm not too trustworthy of certain guys in this Mets lineup. I'm not a particularly big fan of Dom Smith. I think his bat's a little slow. And J.D. Davis does not have a fast bat either. He's a breaking ball hitter. And I like Jeff McNeil a lot, but his attitude is just a little shaky at times. But he's been a good hitter in the past. And I have major concerns behind the plate because McCann can't hit and Nito's a backup. They're both backups, quite frankly. So I have a major concern about that. And Mark Kanye, I need to sort of see him. Obviously, with him being in Oakland, I don't know much about him. But in terms of just the sort of the rotation with the DH, the Mets were the one team that could have used the DH last year because they had guys that can sort of slot in and out of there. And, it's all about the Mets' situational hitting. The Mets have good situational hitting. They'd have a really good record. That was what killed them last year, is because their situational hitting was so bad.
Yeah,
that's why they sort of collapsed the way they did, and then it just got worse.
Right.
So
yeah, because their stats look pretty good individually, but
right.
It seemed like whenever they needed to come through with a big hit, it didn't happen.
Right, and like I said, the clubhouse has changed. They were not happy with the way things were going on behind the scenes. Guys weren't getting along. They weren't happy. A lot of these players that were here didn't like the fact that the fans were booing them. So there was a lot of problems here. So the Mets went out of their way to really bring in a complete, total change the personality of this team. Scherzer, Marte, Escobar. People just rave about Eduardo Escobar in a way that you don't see that too often, that he loves to win. He's great in the clubhouse. The guys last year were very shaky. But with me as a Met fan, my major concern is always the Met offense. Because the Mets always seem to have enough pitching to win. It's that offense that kills them every time.
Yeah.
But
we'll have to see. Escobar's I think he's hit over 30 home runs. It's been a couple of years, but there's some power there, and it just kind of depends. But it's also gonna. Was there any bench guys that we didn't mention that might?
Luis Guillorme.
Yeah, Guillorme.
Like I said, J.D. Davis will be in there. The bench is okay. I know they really love Guillorme. I know Buck Showalter really loves Guillorme a lot. He does a lot of different things. He's a great defensive player. He can hit behind the runner. He doesn't strike out much. I know that they want to get a fourth outfielder in here. They don't really have one. I know they sent Khalil Lee down, who was up and down last year. I know they brought in Nick Plumer from the Cardinals. These are two guys that are left-handed bats. Plumer has a lot of power. Khalil Lee is a bit of a defensive guy. The bench is it's weird now with the National League. With the DH now involved, the reliance on the bench is not nearly as what it was. You do double switches and stuff, and so it's sort of more of a stable lineup now in the National League with the Mets.
And I saw you just made a couple of videos about Conforto. What's going on? What's the update? Is he going to sign or?
I don't know. It's the strangest thing about Conforto. He had turned down a contract last spring training, I think it was, for 5 years, $100 million. And then the Mets offered him a 6th year for $120. He didn't take it. So he played the season. He didn't have a good year. He had really a lousy year. He was one of these guys that didn't do well with men in scoring position. Mm-hmm. I'm not a big fan of his, based on the fact that he's shown in the past that he's been a guy that's a little shaky with men in scoring position. They gave him the qualifying offer, which was the right thing to do. He declined it, but now he's struggling to find a home. He has the qualifying offer attached to him. You got teams that are pretty much set with their rosters, pretty much set with their budgets in terms of the money, and you don't have, and he doesn't have a home. He waited too long to pick a choice, and you started seeing teams picking off these players. You saw the trade. The big trade that killed him was the Mariners trade with the Reds when they picked up Jesse Winkler, because Winkler going in there, he killed him to go there because he's from Oregon, and that's his team growing up. That was the perfect spot for him. But obviously they didn't want to wait for him to sign, so they went down this route.
Yeah.
So at this point, and then there was talk that because he's not vaccinated, that he couldn't play here. But the Mets have moved on from him. Also, there was talk that the Blue Jays were interested, but you can't play in Canada unless you're vaccinated. So So I don't know where he's going. I did a video earlier just based off a rumor saying that the Guardians were kind of interested, but I don't see them really picking him up because I don't see them having a big year. They're going to move him on a one-year deal. They'll move him to some other team, at midpoint in the season. So I don't know where he's going right now. And also, because of the fact that they pushed the draft back to July 17th now, he can't. If he decides that he'll wait till then, the Mets don't get a draft pick because the draft pick is forfeited. They get like a second or third round pick after the second round or whatever it is. So he's all screwed up for half the season.
Yeah.
So even if he signs with a team, say June 18th, he's got to take at least 2-3 weeks to get ready. He won't be ready until August. So he's all messed up. Now the only way he'll get a contract is if he signs with a team that has an injury, that some team is desperate and willing to give him a qualifying offer. So you have the qualifying offer that's sort of sitting there. If he didn't have that, he probably would have signed with some team. But because of that draft pick with him, and he had a bad year last year, it's just a big mess with him. And he's the last big free agent out there.
Wow. Well, we'll have to see what happens with him. It's really, everyone of y'all are more interested in more details, go check out check out your channel, because I know you had a couple of videos out on that. Yeah.
People are loving it, so I'll keep doing it.
yeah, absolutely. But the last thing, I guess, just, what do you think of the division's going to shake out now? Obviously, the Phillies and Braves are still pretty good. Nats and Marlins, I don't think you got to worry about too much. But do you have any predictions or anything?
I'm still kind of thinking about it, but a lot of the moves that happened after the lockout were moves that the Braves and the Phillies were trying to catch up to the Mets. Once you bring in Scherzer on your team and you bring in Bassitt on your team, those in particular, you have to sort of keep up with the Mets at this point. We kind of knew that Olsen was going to go to the Braves. That seemed to be an obvious thing. It didn't seem like the Braves were all that interested in bringing back Freddie Freeman. And the Phillies brought in Schwarber and Castellanos. But the thing about that team, just to go over a little bit about them, is that their defense is lousy.
I did notice that.
Their defense is really bad, and it's been bad for a few years. It did not improve with bringing them in there. But they won 82 games last year. Their offense is better. They got Bryce Harper on their team. And they got Zach Wheeler on their team. The bullpen isn't good. The defense isn't good. The Braves are going to be there. Obviously, the Braves are pretty tough late in the season. Right now, I see the Mets as probably like a third-place team right now. However, I do see them making an improvement in terms of the wins. They're 77 last year. I would think with the improvements, probably 88 to 90 wins I see right now.
Yeah.
Just based on the offense can't be as bad as it was last year. And the Braves will be a little bit better because they won a World Series. Now, I know that they took a major hit losing Freddie Freeman. It seems like the players are very shocked still down there. Obviously, because it just happened. I see the Mets making postseason. But like I said, that offense doesn't click. And if DeGrom's not healthy, it could be shaky. But they're not going to be in a situation where they're not going to be afraid to spend money, bring in players, and stuff like that. But there are certain concerns I have that I need to sort of see. That they were weird last year because they were in first place for over 100 days. And that's unusual to be in first place for 100 days and then not make postseason. So that tells you how bad they were in the second half, and they lost DeGrom. But 88 wins is about the number that I see right now.
But, with that rotation, though, you never really know. So I think this team is pretty dang good. Probably one of the best off seasons in baseball this year. So I don't know if you agree with that, but I think it was a pretty good off season.
Well, the Mets always seem to have good off seasons and then have
yeah. Who cares about having a good off season? I
would point out again about the catching situation. The Mets have McCann behind the plate, but I'm very excited about the Mets prospect Francisco Alvarez. He's very excited. He hit a bomb last night. And at Port St. Lucie, that was amazing to watch and to listen to.
And at bat for Alvarez, who had a comeback for his first time, and he hits a rocket out to left field, and that ball is way out of here.
He's got some bat, and he's got a follow through just like Mike Piazza. They showed it last night when he hit that ball. It was like watching Mike Piazza hit home runs. It was amazing to watch it. He's a big prospect.
I forgot to ask you about the prospects. Any others that we might be seeing early this year or sometime this year?
The other one that I can think of is two. There's this reliever who pitched last night, is Eric Orze. who I think he was in Double-A last year and Single-A, and he's a 2-time cancer survivor.
Oh, really?
He throws hard. He might be here, I think, because the Mets, obviously guys will get moved around with the bullpen up and down. So he's a guy to keep an eye on. Another guy to keep an eye on is Mark Vientos, who's another Mets, who's the second best Mets third base prospect. He plays a little bit of the outfield. He'll be in AAA this year.
Okay.
So there's a good chance he'll be here. He's got big power, and he can hit a little bit. They compare his power to Alonso a little bit, so he's very impressive. But down the line will be Brett Beatty, who's another prospect the Mets have, who's the best third base prospect in the game right now. I think through MLB.com, and he gets rave reviews about him. Good defensively, great athlete, takes a walk, has got good power. Not as much as Vientos, but he does a lot of good things offensively and defensively. And he can play the outfield as well. He's got a chance to be a star. Mets actually have two guys that could be stars. Him and Alvarez have a chance to be a star.
Right.
And Vientos has a chance to be a regular, everyday player. So the Mets, in that way, the Mets are very good with their farm system. But beyond that is really a lot of development, a lot of work to be done. They've traded a lot of players from their 2020 draft. They traded a lot of guys that were top prospects. And they have a lot of work to do. But they're going to have a big draft this year, so that's exciting. And they got 3 of the first 14 picks so far. So the Mets are, in that regard, in great shape. But in terms of just right now, there's not a lot there other than 3 or 4 guys, really.
Wow, yeah, that's not bad. Not bad prospects, not bad.
No.
I mean, really a good rotation.
Yeah.
You're looking okay. Just got to put it all together, not have a big collapse, and
Right.
just hang in there.
That's always the trick. Don't collapse. Don't fall apart.
Yeah, don't fall apart. Just do what you did last year, but just hang on.
Yeah.
Get in those playoffs. And in the playoffs.
And also point out that Jacob deGrom is opting out of his contract, so he's got a lot to play for this year. He's gonna want $40 million going forward every year, and he looks very much determined to pitch a full season, and they need him to, or that this is not going anywhere. So.
Sweet. Yeah. DeGrom, Scherzer, Bassitt. I can't believe that's like an all-star team, like rotation.
And Bassett's a free agent too, so he's got a lot.
Wow.
And they talked to him yesterday after he pitched, and they asked him what does he think about the fact that he's going to be in an arbitration here with the Mets. He said, "I don't care about that stuff. That's my agent's job to do that. I just want to win. That's all I care about is winning." I saw a video of him, I think on Twitter, talking about how he doesn't care about nothing but winning. So if he sees a teammate that's dogging it, he gets on him right away. So it's very unusual to see a pitcher do that.
Yeah.
So it's great to see that. The Mets needed that badly. The Mets have had the Mets have had a real leadership void since David Wright retired. The real void there.
Yeah.
So that to see this, and I would mention this, I didn't. The Mets have a new manager in Buck Showalter.
Right.
And Mets have not had a professional manager on this team for 5 years. So and he's probably the smartest manager the Mets have had in 20 years. So the Mets are really they're spot on now. They're ready to go. This is it's very exciting right now. To be honest.
I forgot about that. That's a big change.
Yeah, that's
the
biggest change you can have.
Yeah.
I was not a big fan of the former manager.
Oh, no. But yeah, no, I think that your team looks good. It's going to be tough with that division with the Phillies and the Braves, but I think the Mets will make the playoffs. I got to make it in the playoffs. I don't know if they can win the division, but you never know in baseball. So
right.
I appreciate you coming on. Thanks everyone for checking it out. Make sure to go check out the Baseball Hut. I got links in the descriptions, link in the comment section, and appreciate everyone checking it out. Good luck to the Mets. We talk to y'all next time. See ya. Damage control, straight to the hole. I got no chance of ever making